Hello, everybody. Welcome back again tonight to the Pigsty. Tonight we have Battle of the Minds. We have Ultimated Christian. Ultimated, yes? Is that how I pronounce it?
Yes.
Yes, Ultimated Christian versus Simos. I think we're going to shorthand it to UC for handiness. And we're here tonight for Does God Exist? So, on that topic, we're going to just bounce straight into it. Everybody knows exactly who we are and what the crack is. So, Simos, would you like to introduce yourself? Give a wee, or no, Ultimated Christian. Would you like to do your opening, quick opening, and then Simos will do an opening. We'll have a general conversation, and then we'll do questions and opening statements at the end of it. So, Ultimated Christian, we'll just jump straight in. If you want to open us, and let's hear your statement.
Yes, a brief introduction about me before I present my argument is that I am an ultimated Christian because I vowed to be an ultimated Christian to our Heavenly Father of the Bible.
Your connection's not great, man. Simos, just you talk there.
1 2 1
Yeah,
2.
you're fine. I think it's on your end, Ultimated.
Test 1 2 3 4 5 6.
There we go. Way better now.
Audio.
Yeah, way better now. Right, go on ahead.
Okay, I'll start from the start. So I will give a brief introduction on myself before I present my argument. I am ultimated Christian. I vowed to be an ultimated Christian to our Heavenly Father of the Bible. Therefore, God has revealed to me that I am His ultimated Christian. So I have a YouTube channel titled Ultimated Christian. It is the same avatar as the StreamYard avatar that I have. So now I will present a brief introduction on the topic of this talk/debate. So primarily, proving God's existence is based.
You're clipping again. Yeah, whatever you're doing, man, you're clipping. You were very you were clear as everything, and then you moved away or did something. You started to clip again.
Test 1 2 3. Am I coming in clear?
There's crackling. It sounds like it sounds like electrical crackling to me. Maybe a loose wire. If you want to disconnect and reconnect, possibly blow the wee connection out.
Yeah, everything's set up on my side. Am I still
crackling?
At the moment
Is it crackling for you, Simos?
Yeah, all I can suggest is to leave, rejoin, or leave, reboot, rejoin. Those are the only two things I can think to do.
Okay, I'm going to reboot my device, so I'll be less than 5 minutes.
No probs.
Simos, would you like to let everyone know about your Formula One while I double check all this over here?
I'll do some kind of intro. Hi, my name is Simos Funk. I'm podcaster, creator, YouTube personality, and I do a Formula One podcast on a channel called Fabio and Funk, and hopefully Fabio can put the link up there in the chat. And for which we do a review of the Formula One World Championship every Monday following a race at 9 o'clock UK time. And you can also see a playlist of previous ones we've done. And if you're into Formula One or racing, I highly recommend it. We try to sprinkle in some jokes, memes, and other stuff as well to make it entertaining.
Do you still do your wonderful intros?
Wonderful is a bit of an overstatement, but I definitely do intros. So
just for Simos's intros alone, call in for the first 5 minutes. That's it. That's all you need to do.
There is that. However, so that's the Formula One channel. I also have my own channel where I do DayZ content and general other kind of content when I'm around. I appear on other people's channels, namely Brojo's 420 Cafe.
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoy those conversations. Brojo's a very good host, and speaking of good hosts, I like to go on Christopher Mount's channel occasionally. and he's a great host.
Who's
and
that
we
guy?
have, interesting discussions.
Christopher who?
Christopher Maute. Christopher Maute.
Oh yeah, what was it? What we were calling him? Mauti. Mauti. Yeah.
Maute. So yeah, there's that as well. And yeah, if you could basically put maybe Brojo's link in.
Maute. Right, I think I have the chat sorted. I think I have the chat sorted.
He does like some cooking content. He does some psychological content. He does music content, as he's a musician himself, bass player.
All about the bass.
He's all about the
bass.
Plays some main guitar as well, I dare say, and sings. So he's an all-rounder.
Actually, I think Maudi's is saved under that.
There we go.
Right, UC, let's check now. How is it?
Thank you, Geo Sam. If you could put Brojo's in there, Geo, as well, just to get the full round
Geo, yeah.
And then I also do, I appear on Amy Newman's from time to time as well, of course. We love Amy Newman.
Amy Newman's
focus, good. Newman, focus is the meme. And Ultimate's back. Hello.
How's your audio now?
Yes, I've reset my device. Am I coming in clear as
I'm
speaking right now?
Perfect now.
Okay.
Floor is yours.
Okay, so I'll just start from the start. So I will give an introduction on myself before I present my argument for the topic of this talk/debate. I am ultimated Christian. I vow to our
just got choppy again, man. It just got very choppy again.
It's almost like there's some divine problem stopping you from connecting properly.
No, I actually do know what it is. Just give me a moment. I may have to reset if I'm crackling again, but I do think I know what it is.
Okay, you're sounding good at the moment.
Yeah, whatever you're doing, that's perfect. If you're holding a lead, you have to sit for the entire discussion like this.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to get my phone. Just give me a few seconds. Okay. Okay, so I'll start from the start. If I'm crackling, just let me know. Okay, So again, I am ultimated Christian. I vow to our Heavenly Father of the Bible to be an ultimated Christian. Therefore, He has revealed to me I'm His ultimated Christian. I would now present my argument for the existence of our loving/Christian God. Our Christian God exists because out of love, He has revealed Himself throughout creation and has spoken directly to creatures biblically. Romans chapter 1, verse 17 to 20. Therefore, people presuppose God for facts. Examples are pure reason and sense perception. More specifically, for humans and angels to identify themselves and sense factualities, they must have ultimate loveful truth as a precondition for intelligibility. Therefore, God's reflected laws of logic/thoughts, including the law of polarity, are fundamental to all states of affairs. Therefore, God is that which no greater being can be conceived, making Him ruler of all temporalities endlessly. What I have said is a brute fact and comports with the creator-creature distinction theology. That will be the end of my opening.
Simos, what are you here today? You're going to... You did.
Okay. Yeah, as I said, my name is Simos Funk, and I have a YouTube channel, do sorts of other things. Okay, so I guess we'll get straight down to it. So my opening, I want to just delineate what is meant by various terms: theist, agnostic, and atheist. I'm as with everybody, all three of these. And the reason I'm all three of these is because it's very much dependent upon what your definition of the word God is. Right? So do I believe in God? Well, if you describe God as, I don't know, say a guy who's 5'8", incredibly handsome, has long hair, a girth to be believed, good, great body, excellent mind, and is called Simos, then I definitely believe that God exists. So for that, I would definitely be described as a theist. However, I'm guessing that a lot of people won't agree with that definition of God. If you define God as something like the Spinozan or Einsteinian God, that, say, is the universe, then I believe the universe exists, so why wouldn't I believe that God exists? It seems to make sense. However, I think there's a little more to God that needs to be said before you understand it as something which has any relevance to a theist in the classical sense of the word. And that's where we get into a slightly trickier situation. Because if we define God as something which is necessarily unfalsifiable, then I could only be an agnostic to that claim, because I can't falsify it. And since I would describe the definition or the proposition that God exists as either true or false, if it's unfalsifiable, I can't be an atheist in that sense. But if we are describing God as something which is potentially falsifiable, or for which we think a proposition that has a definition which is itself falsifiable, then of course I think I can be an atheist in that respect. And that's basically my position, is most definitions of God which are given to be something meaningful are false. And therefore I think we can go along the lines that I will be defending the atheist position, i.e. I believe no God exists. Now, we've had various definitions of what God may or may not be from Ultimate here, and rather than just address them immediately, I think we can leave that to the discussion portion. I'd just like to just say what I think meaningful means in this sense. Meaningful means something for which we have some understanding, number one, and it also means something for which there is an analogy which itself can be understood. So those are the two definitions. Either I understand what God is, or I understand an analogy for what God is. On both of those counts, I think that the definitions of God which are meaningful to a theist are incoherent. And that's basically the position I'll be trying to take up. I just want to give a couple of ideas here. The God of classical theism, that of omnibenevolence, potency, and omniscience, I think those three things themselves are somewhat incoherent. I'm not sure any one of them exists, or there's a being which has all of them, or necessarily any one of them. That also seems slightly incoherent to me. Not necessarily completely, but it does seem incoherent to me to say that all three exist. It doesn't reflect what I see around in terms of the observations that I have of the real world, or the explanations for which I explain my observations. And that's the process by which I tend to debunk or ignore, or not ignore, debunk or at least refute claims of, shall we say, divine interpretation. Okay, so in that sense, I would say that it's things that the only reason to believe things are either logical reasons which are analytical, observations, or explanations which give us some reason to believe the observations, or theories, in other words, which describe our observations. And for those are the things, if we cannot give those reasons for concluding that something exists, then the only recourse is a guess. And that's not good enough for me to accept any meaningful definition of theism. So with that, I'll end my opening statement, and let's get into some kind of discussion. Thank you.
You see, you have a lot, I'm sure, you want to address to Simos's statement. So the floor is yours. You can start, and I'd like to trust that we can be cordial enough. I don't really want to have to jump in all the time, so please try not to talk over each other. Give each other a chance to finish their statement, but don't rant on. So with that, you see, the floor is yours.
Okay, so I'll start off with this simple question. What is your response to our Christian God being ultimate truth, as he is absolute, eternal, and a creator?
Right. Okay, so I don't think that coheres with observations of the world around us.
It does, because you have to presuppose God in order to be talking about him.
Right. Again, I'm not sure that I would agree with that. I think I can conceive of a lot of things which aren't necessarily true, and I don't have to think that they are true in order to conceive of them. Such things as Star Wars characters, unicorns, or the whole number of fictional ideas that humans create.
Unicorns and Star Wars characters are labels for limited in size particulars, so you are aware of the actors for said Star Wars characters, so you can't be neutral on the existence of our Christian God, because he is absolute, eternal, and a creator mind. So to summarize all of that, you have to presuppose God to be talking about him.
Right, I don't see why you could, or for what reason you would give that God couldn't be something which is fictional.
It's impossible, because God is all of actuality. So he doesn't start from our mind first. We have to appeal to his attributes in order to understand him. So again, we are presupposing God's existence in order for this topic to move forward.
Right, I mean, that's not my position. My position is that you need to demonstrate that this, what I consider to be a fictional character, is more than a fictional character. And if all I'm presupposing is reality, right, as in the universe, and that gets you no further than the God of Spinoza or Einstein, for which I've already agreed, I'm happy to call God, but I don't think that that has the same connotations that you labeled earlier as intelligibility, no greater being, creator-creator distinction. All of those things I think are false.
They are not false, because again, because God is absolute, we have to presuppose his existence in order to be talking about him. So I don't have to present an argument, because we have to presuppose his existence first in order for the argument to be sound. So that is why I state.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, I think I've presupposed several different versions of God, right? So unless you can give me some definition of God, which I need to presuppose, and then give me a demonstration of why I need to suppose those as the correct definition, then I'm not sure I agree with you.
There can only be one God as a starting point, because if there were multiple gods, they would all share the same attributes. So that's a contradiction in terms. Therefore, only one God can exist, and that is our Christian God, because in Genesis 1:1 it lays out his attributes. So to summarize that, the adjective Christian is an attribute to God, because the adjective Christian means to love, and the noun Christian means Christianity itself. So to put that into context, our loving/Christian God exists because he has chosen out of love to reveal himself. So this is implied in Genesis 1:1, that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. So created is an expression of love. Therefore, because God is love, he would want to make that obvious within scripture, the first sentence of the Bible. Therefore, our Christian God exists.
Right. Again, I don't see that as necessarily following. So, first of all, when you say it's true because the Bible says it's true, well, of course, that is viciously circular reasoning, and therefore doesn't give me any justification that what the Bible says is necessarily true. It's just a claim that it's true. Then secondly, when you say God is love, well, that seems to be an equivocation on a human emotion. And therefore, I don't think you've got any justification to extend that emotion into or outside of the universe.
Okay, to address your first point there, is that I wasn't basing my argument solely on the Bible, because even before reading the Bible, we know that our loving / Christian God exists. So for me to reference the Bible as an epistemic citation, to address your second point, God is love because he is self-loving to himself first, logically entailing him to be love towards certain people here on earth. So we all share the same Christian God.
Yeah, okay, so that doesn't really address my second argument, which was that by calling God love, right, that's an equivocation on the word love. We only have a human concept of what love is. And if you're saying that is an extension from God, then that's again circular reasoning to say that because we have it, therefore we know it belongs to God. That's presupposing that A, that God exists first, and that B, he's given us some intentionality towards love.
Love is a label for an immaterial particular, in other words, a spirit. In Genesis 1:2, it states that the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters, so that proves a flat earth. So love is God, and God is love. So it may be circular, but it's true. It's not false, because it comports with the law of identity, that A equals A. So it's perfectly valid for me to say that God is love, and love is God. So in other words, God is an immaterial particular, and an immaterial particular is God. Our Christian God exists.
Sure. Again, viciously circular, so giving no justification to believe that your claim is true. And again, you referred to the Bible once more, another viciously circular justification for what you're saying in itself is circular. So I just think we're running around in circles if we keep going down the line of saying, I know God is God because God is God. That's all you're really saying to me, and I'm not impressed with that kind of argumentation. I understand that if you think that that's true, that may give you some kind of justification, but it certainly is no justification in terms of an objective standard.
I'm referencing the Bible as someone would with a dictionary, but my main argument is ontological. So by default, we know that our Christian God exists because it takes a loving choice to reveal himself.
Sorry, say that again to me.
So
you're referencing the Bible because
that's an epistemic supportation. So my claims are ontological based, and then I am just merely referencing / promoting the Bible. So we know that our Christian God exists because he has revealed himself to be love, and because Christian means to love, and Christianity itself, we all presuppose the same Christian God.
Right, so I think I've come to the conclusion, right, that I do not believe the third part of that I presuppose the Christian God. I don't presuppose the Christian God. In fact, I do the opposite. So if anything, I do the opposite. So that's the first thing. There is an incorrect use of we. If you mean Christians presuppose the Christian God, well, I've come across Christians that are evidential and rely on such things as personal testimony and faith, or personal revelation, and I don't think that they presuppose the Christian God. I think they are saying that they have had direct revelation from God, and therefore they don't need to presuppose God. So your position alone is a marginalized position in the Christian community, as far as I can make out. And then thirdly, I can't remember the first thing he said. Referring back to the Bible again, I think anytime you refer to the Bible, even if you think it's a dictionary, it's still just descriptive, and therefore can't give you any a priori knowledge of God.
Okay, so to address some of your points, we all presuppose God because in order to talk about him, he has to reveal himself. So even these people that you said that rely on special revelations, I'm paraphrasing your words.
That's fine, yeah, I would describe it the same way, yeah.
Everyone has to presuppose God in order to be talking about him. And because he is love, he is our Christian God. And then I bring up the Bible again as it supports my ontological claims, but it's not my main argument.
Sure. Okay. I'm confused about this. Why does talking about God presuppose that God exists? I don't presuppose, when I talk about Spider-Man, I don't presuppose Spider-Man exists. So
you do. You presuppose, when you reference Spider-Man there, you are presupposing a limited in size character or actor. God is an unlimited in size being, so it is impossible to be neutral to him because he has revealed himself.
Okay, I see. So if you think that Spider-Man exists in the same sense that you think God exists, then I can grant you, but I believe Spider-Man to exist fictionally. He exists in a fictional world which is made up and created by humans. And I can agree that God exists in that same universe, made up and created by humans.
Spider-Man is a label to a human, a limited in size particular.
No, it's not. There is no human which is Spider-Man.
You have to reference the actor.
No, I don't. No. Before Spider-Man was played by an actor, he was written down as a fictional character in a book. And that's exactly how I view God, the Christian God. It's a fictional character in a book, and the book being the Bible.
Yeah, but Spider-Man is referenced to be a limited in size particular. So we know that limited in size particulars exist because we have an ultimate revelatory standard, that being God, to come to that understanding that we are creaturely and God is creator, our Christian God, that is.
No, I completely disagree. I don't think Spider-Man exists. Regardless of whether God does or doesn't exist, I still don't think Spider-Man exists. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. And as I'm saying to you, I treat them exactly the same way. So you say, yeah, okay, so we may be able to have things like if you say that there's an ultimate something or another, which instantiates Spider-Man, well, I don't know what ultimate eternal would be in this sense, because it's a fictional world. So in some sense it's transcendental, but not in the sense of it's existent in terms of reality anyway. And that's really what I'm talking about when I talk about meaningful definitions of God.
So to restate an earlier point in different words, atheism is impossible because you have to presuppose the existence of our Christian God to be talking about him, as he is unlimited in size, eternal, and revelatory.
Right.
Your response to that?
Yeah, no, I disagree. I mean, I presuppose that God's existence is false. That's all that's required to be an atheist.
You have contradicted yourself, because for you to say that X doesn't exist, you have to presuppose X. So your
No,
response
no.
is a contradiction in terms.
No, not at all. As I say, because I'm presupposing God's existence to be fictional, right? And therefore, I'm saying the proposition God exists is false. Now, yeah, I think it's a meaningful proposition, but I think it's meaningful in the sense that it's false.
That's a claim that's impossible to back up. You
Not
have
at
to
all.
presuppose God first. You are presupposing our Christian God.
I don't presuppose it exists, and that's what the question on the debate table is: does God exist? Not that is God a concept. That's not what we're debating.
God does exist because he has created us. The word exist is a verb. A verb is a doing word. So you have to presuppose God in order to be talking about his existence, as the creation, the heavens declare the glory of our Christian God.
Sure, I've heard about natural revelation, but I think that's false. And the reason I think it's false is because there's a more parsimonious explanation for existence, which is it itself is the instantiation.
Can't be, because because of the creation distinction. We are creaturely contingent on our Heavenly Father of the Bible, who created us, as he is ultimate, absolute, immaterial, and so forth. So again,
Right.
we are presupposing his existence in this StreamYard.
I grant that you are presupposing his existence. I am not, and I don't see that being contingent has anything to do with saying that necessarily that has to be or that has some explanation outside of the universe.
God created the universe, so we are not the universe. Your response to that?
I grant that I myself am not the universe, but I don't see why why as a contingent being, right, that has to be explained by something either necessarily outside the universe, or shall we call it a necessary being for the sake of the conversation.
God has to be a necessary being, because in order to be eternal, he has to be unlimited in power, to be the sustainer of himself. So in other words, God has to have everything from the start to be eternal, because he is the sustainer of himself, as he is absolute, so he's not contingent on anything external to him. So things can't pop into existence because God secures all of reality as an absolute starting point. Our Christian God, that is.
Right. Again, you seem to be putting the cart before the horse each time. I'm saying that I'm the cart here, and I don't think you can put God before me necessarily. Right? I'm a contingent thing, and the explanation for myself, of course, is a series of contingent affairs. And to say that necessarily ends in the only explanation, which is your Christian God, I think is undemonstratable. I mean, you cannot demonstrate that is necessarily the conclusion that needs to be drawn from my existence, your existence, or the existence of the universe.
As we have discussed in our previous discussion, an infinite regress of causal affairs is a false belief, because infinite implies independence. So as an absolute starting point, we presuppose an infinite in size God, who is the primary mover for there to be contingencies. For example, humans, angels, and the universe. So to summarize all of that, in the infinite regress gimmick, is a contradiction in terms, because the word infinite implies independence as an absolute starting point. Therefore, our Christian God exists.
Okay, I mean that's incoherent. To say that infinite implies independence, which means an absolute starting point. I don't. Infinite. The word infinite implies that there isn't a starting point. So those two things don't go here with each other. So you still aren't showing that there is a logical contradiction if you're trying to insist that an infinite regress has a starting point. That doesn't follow.
It has to, because even if there were multiple particulars as a starting point, they would all share the same attributes. So it would either be immaterial or material. So this puts us back to one absolute immaterial starting point. It's impossible to refute.
Well,
God
I mean,
ultimately...
Sure. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
So to summarize this, our Christian God ultimately is a brute fact.
What? So there's no explanation for God? Is that what you're saying?
No, there is one explanation.
Oh, which is what?
Is that for the... So a brute fact, so we have to get an understanding of what the definition of a brute fact is first.
Mm-hmm.
So a brute fact is a fact with one ontological reason for existing. So to put that into context with God is that God has one reason for his existence, and that is he is God. He has one ontological reason. So having no explanation is an explanation. So God is the only explanation for his existence.
Is an explanation. Well, I mean, given that, of course, I can just say, well, the universe has no explanation, and that is an explanation. And then that explains why all contingent beings exist.
No, the universe can't be eternal because of the creator-creature distinction. It's because we share different thoughts and minds.
Right.
So we are not linked metaphysically.
Yeah, I mean, let me just, I'm just, excuse me for being a little bit distracted. I'm just writing out an argument here, which hopefully Mathpig will be able to just post. I'll try and put it in.
Yeah, if you put it in private chat, I can put it in the live chat.
Okay, let me do it now. And as I'm doing it, I'll just say a couple of things. No, okay, so I think what I'm getting from you is that you're saying, and this is a little bit paraphrased from our last discussion, so this is why I want you to confirm the point I'm making, which is to say that I agree I'm a contingent being. I have an explanation in myself, which is my parents exist and they gave birth to me, etc., and that follows back through evolution, and then through abiogenesis, and then the creation of the earth, and eventually back to the beginning of the universe, which in itself may itself be a contingent thing. All right, and I don't see any reason or logical contradiction in that. It seems to me you're saying that there is a contradiction there because you are positing something called a necessary being, which is loving and has all power, and is the only thing which could have given rise to the universe and the contingent beings within it. Is that correct?
Yes, and that necessary being has to be immaterial and ultimate.
Right. Okay, so there's my... If you could just copy that out maybe and put it up. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to basically... Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I can't agree that this is this necessarily follows. And when I say necessarily follows, I mean to say is the only possible explanation. Right? As far as I'm concerned, contingent things could, as a possible explanation, just be always have some explanation which precedes them, and that explanation has something that precedes them. So I see no contradiction by saying that there is a possible infinite regressive explanation. And I think unless you can demonstrate that there is a contradiction there, then I think you're on a sticky wicket. If you don't mind me using a cricket terminology here, as an Australian, I think you're probably better off at knowing them, since you tend to beat us more often than not. But I do think that you're on a bit of a sticky wicket if you're going to claim that your necessary being, God, the loving Christian God, is the only possible explanation. Okay, so I'd just retort that there's no logical contradiction in saying that a contingent being has an explanation, which has an explanation ad infinitum.
Again, an infinite regress of causal affairs is a false belief, because as an absolute starting point, we presuppose an infinite in size God, who is immaterial.
Right. Sure. You don't need to list the whole list, but that's what I'm saying. You presuppose that, right? That's a claim. That's not an evidence, right? So you would need to demonstrate that claim.
Again, for us to be talking about God, we have to presuppose his existence. So to break that down, for us to understand the word God requires revelation from him, because the word God has multiple attributes. So when you express the word God, you are being revealed multiple attributes all at once. So you can't be in denial of the existence of our Christian God.
Yeah, no, I disagree. I fundamentally disagree. I think I'm presupposing that God is false.
That's a contradiction in terms, because it's for you to say that X doesn't exist.
No. Propositions are either true or false. Would you agree?
Yes.
The proposition that God exists is false.
That's a contradiction in terms, because you can't be neutral.
It's a proposition. It can't be a false. I mean, it can't be a contradiction. It can't be a contradiction.
You are
propositions are either true or false. Okay? That's the definition of a proposition. Right? God exists is a proposition. So it's either true or false. There's no contradiction there.
There is. For you to say that X doesn't exist, you have to presuppose X first.
No, you don't have to presuppose that X exists first, or X is true. That's not what you need to do. You need to presuppose X is either true or false. That's all.
You have to presuppose God to be talking about him as he is ultimate.
No.
You are not ultimate, so your claim is an impossible feat, because God is ultimate perfection.
No, like I'm saying, it's a proposition, right? Either God is true, or either God exists is true, or God exists is false. That's all I have to presuppose. It's one or the other. And I'm presupposing God is false. For the reasons I've given, I've got no reason to believe that the claim God is true is correct. Right? Now, if you want to make it an ultimate being, technically speaking, I'm agnostic. Right? Technically speaking. Right? So I'm saying that there is no reason to believe that all contingent things necessarily have an explanation in God.
You can't be agnostic or atheist, because you have to presuppose the existence of God first.
That's your claim. Could you just tell me why I have to presuppose it when I've already explained to you that I presuppose that God's existence is false?
Again, you are contradicting yourself. For you to say that X doesn't exist, you have to presuppose X. So I'm putting X as a value for God.
No, I don't. I don't have to presuppose X is true. That's incorrect.
It is because of the nature of God, as He is ultimate perfection. So you can't be neutral or deny that. You have to presuppose that.
Okay, we're getting back to you're just making claims, right? Every time I say, could you show me that that claim is true? You just go back and reassert your claim. So you're now giving circular arguments for your circular arguments. And I'm not particularly interested in that. I'll just say once again, look, okay, just so I read it out for people that are out there. Okay, look, P1.
It's actually scrolling, Simos. It's been scrolling across the top of the actual YouTube stream for about 10 minutes now.
Good. Right, so I'll say this to Ultimate Christian. A necessary being, if true, must be the only possible explanation for contingency, right? I.e., a line of contingent things. P2, an infinite chain of contingents has no contradiction, so must be a possible explanation for contingency, a line of contingent things. P3, a necessary being is not the only possible explanation for contingency. Conclusion, we are not justified to believe that it is true that a necessary being, God, is the explanation for contingency. Right now, I see no contradictions held within that argument. If you find one or you object to a particular premise, please let me know.
Yes, because the entirety of the argument presupposes God within premise 1.
No, it says if true. That's not presupposing God. That's making a hypothetical of God.
You can't present a hypothetical because you can't be neutral or deny his existence, as he is in a different category to certain things because he is ultimate perfection.
Sure, but that's special pleading that God is in its own category. Right? And I'm saying no, it
doesn't matter.
It's a proposition. It's either true or false. And that's what we're here to discuss. If you're just going to say, well, God is true because God is true, then okay, we're done with the conversation. That's just circular.
It doesn't matter.
I'm the one that's being open-minded by saying if it's true. Right? You're saying, well, it can't be anything other than true. Okay? So, and I'm sorry, you're not participating in a debate here. You're just asserting time and time again that you think it is true. And if you do that, that's okay. I can understand that you think it's true, but you're not giving me reasons to believe that it's true. And in fact, when I put this particular argument up, the argument you did give for thinking to yourself that it's true is clearly false.
If I can just for 1 second before you reply to that, I'm going to give a 15-minute warning to we try and round up, and then we're going to go into questions. So we've got 15 minutes to bounce back and forth. That'll be over an hour, and then we'll do the wee round up, questions, closing statements. I think 15-minute warning.
Okay, go ahead, Christian. Ultimate Christian. Ultimate.
So this is a brief argument. So if God did not exist, there would be no knowledge of him. Premise 2, there is knowledge of God, therefore God exists. So to summarize that, we have to presuppose God in order to be talking about him. So that debunks your entire argument.
I don't think it does, because I have a problem with premise 2. No, it could be that God is just a concept created by humans in order to justify some kind of belief pattern. And in fact, that is exactly what I think it is.
Oh.
Created means out of nothing. We don't come up with things out of nothing. We have to appeal to the revelation of God.
No. It's not out of nothing. It's out of our imaginations. It's fictional, in other words. Same thing about Spider-Man. Where do you think Spider-Man comes from? It comes from somebody's imagination. Right? It's fictional.
Yeah, but the knowledge is there. But in order to express that knowledge,
what
requires the default knowledge of God. So even before
No. I'm talking about Spider-Man right now. Spider-Man came from somebody's imagination. Okay, it's a fictional character because it came from somebody's imagination, and the existence of such a being, right, is against what we would call reality. At least it's not consistent with observation.
Spider-Man could exist because nothing is impossible for God.
Yeah, but it's
So
against our observation, though. So if God doesn't exist, right, then there's nothing contradictory with that being against our observation. It's the same way Spider-Man.
yeah, I'm saying people can be neutral on Spider-Man because he is a limited in size particular, and God is the source of all possibilities and impossibilities.
That's your
However,
claim, dude. If you're going to keep going back to just
I'm
claiming
saying
things instead of demonstrating,
I'm saying that he could.
right? Okay, so that's a hypothetical, right?
That debunks your earlier point. I'm saying that Spider-Man could exist. However, you can't be neutral or deny the existence of our Christian God because he is in a different category to
Right.
Spider-Man.
Okay, Spider-Man can't exist, and here's why. Firstly, the properties of Spider-Man are incoherent compared to our observations that we make and the theories that we have which describe reality. So that for that reason, Spider-Man is not possible. Okay, now on top of that, we have evidence that Spider-Man is a character in a book created by a particular person. Okay, and that's what I'm saying about God. We have the properties of God are incoherent with observation and the theories we have which describe our observations. And we have a good reason to believe that it comes from a book, exactly like Spider-Man.
No, but the information of the Spider-Man character for his web-slinging abilities and so forth, that information didn't come out of nothing. It's been compiled into one character. So Spider-Man could exist. However, you can't be neutral on God's existence.
No, Spider-Man can't exist, right? It was compiled out of somebody's imagination, and it contradicts, right, observation and theories which explain our observations. Right? Those two things are mutually exclusive. And it's the same with God. The properties of God, i.e., these ideas that come from this particular book that you're kind of referencing, such things as walking on water, being raised from the dead, water into wine, these kind of things. These are against observation and theories that explain our observations. Right? Now, if you say to me, God didn't come from a book, okay, well, I'd like you to demonstrate that, as you certainly weren't around before the book was written to know exactly what people thought or had imagined. So there's no way you could possibly understand what those people imagined or not imagined. Okay, so your only reference point is the book, which you say you're only referencing as a description. Right? Exactly the same way, though, that we use Spider-Man. When we go and see a film of Spider-Man, we have a book which is a description. Okay, and it's exactly the same thing. I don't see you giving me any reason to believe that this particular fictional character created by mankind or a particular people in the history of mankind has any justification in relation to observation and the theories which explain our observations. So you're just guessing, in other words.
I'm not. Again, by definition, creation means out of nothing. So you are not bringing God into existence out of nothing. You have to appeal to his revelation to be talking about him. So there's a philosophical Latin term for this, the actus purus of God. So that means the absolute perfection or the pure actuality of God.
Sure, I understand. Sorry, I still think that's a claim. But so you had another point you wanted to address. I don't want to talk over you.
You've made a claim about a supposed claim that I made. So back up your claim.
Sorry, what was the claim I made?
You made a claim that I made a claim. So back up your claim.
Well, what claim did you make that I thought you made? That
That's
I was
what
making a claim
you
about.
said that I made a claim. So you made a claim.
Oh, you did make a claim, didn't you? You gave God definitions, which I think are incoherent with what we observe in the world, right?
Again, you are presupposing God's existence to be talking about him as things don't come out of nothing without a cause.
Yeah, I know that. I'm saying that God's cause is a contingent being, namely a human being, which imagined its existence and imagined the properties exactly the same way that Spider-Man came out of a human imagination and was given properties.
It's impossible to imagine without revelation an all-powerful absolute God. That requires revelation in one go.
Right. So if I haven't had revelation, then I'm justified to believe that the existence of God is false.
If you did not get revelation from God, then you wouldn't be talking about him.
That does not follow. That's a complete non sequitur. My explanation for why I can talk about God is that it is a fictional character.
That's a claim.
Yes.
Because you're contradicting yourself. Well, firstly, you are contradicting yourself because for you to say that X is Y, you have to presuppose the truthfulness of X.
I'm not saying X is Y, I'm saying X is false.
That's again a contradiction in terms. You are presupposing X.
No, not at all.
The word existence or the word exist is a verb.
It's a hypothetical. That's all that is.
Have you heard about
just the same?
Have you heard about
just the same way? Hang on, just the same way as Spider-Man is hypothetical, right? It's not a real existent being. I can't say to you anymore. There are millions of examples where human beings have imagined things which are not part of reality. When you say God exists, okay, I am literally saying to you, that can only mean that God is part of reality. That claim is false. Okay? If you claim that God exists in some fictional world, right, or is a description of something which does exist in reality, I've got no problem saying that God exists. If you say God is a very handsome 5'8" person, right, with long hair and a big schlong, called Simos, I agree. God exists. All right? But if you say God is some supernatural being, which is a necessary being that is responsible for all contingent things, you have no evidence for that claim.
You are not God because God wouldn't lie about his existence, or he wouldn't argue his own existence.
Well, then we have no reason to believe God exists.
I'm refuting your claim. You're not God for said reasons. We know God exists.
I didn't say that I was the God that you're claiming exists. I'm just saying if you claim that my definition of God is true, then I would agree with you that I exist. What I disagree with you on is that your definition of God is an existent thing. It is false to say your definition of God exists for the reasons which I've pointed out. Right? Yes, I'm contingent. If you think then has to be a necessary being, right, which is responsible or an explanation for that contingency, I think that claim is false. That it doesn't necessarily follow that is the case. And therefore, it need not be true.
It does follow because God is in a different category.
5 minute warning. 5 minute warning.
Sure.
5 minute warning.
Again, if you're saying it's in a different category.
That's just who God is. That is why we are to bow our knee to him and love him with all that we have. The greatest commandment that Jesus preached in Matthew, to love God with all your heart, mind, and soul.
Yeah, I think that's just false. I think it's a story made up by human beings. And I don't disagree that if we can love each other, that's a good thing. but that has nothing to do with the existence of some necessary being which all contingent beings are relied upon.
It's not made up because we have to appeal to the actuality of God to be talking about him.
Right. Again, we're going to go nowhere because that's your claim. It's the claim you first came in with. You haven't managed to defend it against.
What's wrong with what was wrong with what I just said?
It doesn't follow. It's a non sequitur.
Okay, why doesn't it follow?
Because I can talk about something which is false. That's right.
You're talking about God.
And I can talk about things that are false. And if God is a false thing, I can talk about him. Oh, look, I am talking about him. Therefore, God is possibly false.
You are not God, so you can't make that universal claim.
I didn't say it was a universal claim. I just said I can talk about it being false. And if God is false, then I can talk about him. I am talking about him. Therefore, God could be false.
No, because you have to presuppose God's existence first.
That's not true. It's not true at all. Because I can talk about things that are false.
We've discussed my purple rhino before, like.
Yeah, okay. Look, Ultimate Christian, let's just do a closing each, because I think the back and forth has reached its natural end. You're claiming, you're making claims, and you're insistent that those claims are true. I'm trying to refute those claims, and we're just going. Hang on.
No, wait.
Hang on. We're just going round in circles. So if we could just do a closing, either I'll go first or you go first. I don't mind. And then we'll go to questions, because again, I think we've naturally exhausted our back and forth.
Would you like to go first for your closing statement, or have you anything to say, UC?
Yes, I have a brief response to that.
Okay, go ahead.
So my claims are brute facts. So God is a brute fact. This comports with the law of identity, that A equals A. So to put that into context is that God is God. So it's circular, but it's not false, because he is irreducibly primary. He just is. God just is eternal. God just is ultimate.
Yeah, then.
So
yeah, I think I kind of understood that was your claim from the beginning. So I don't doubt that
you're misrepresenting me. I said it's a brute fact.
Yeah, right. But brute facts are claims, right?
It's a brute fact. It's a different category. It's an actual fact.
Well, it's a presupposition, right? Something for which
you have
no. It's a belief for which you have no evidence. Is that correct?
No, it's a brute fact.
Yeah, right.
It just is. God just is.
Yeah, right. So you don't have any evidence to justify that claim. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a brute fact, would it?
The revelation of God.
Oh, so you do. So it's not a brute fact.
It is.
So it's both a brute fact, but it has a justification.
The existence of God is a brute fact, but the revelatory actions of God.
All right, we're doing the back and forth. You see. Yeah. Do your bit. You think you did it? You happy enough with that? Simos, would you like to do your closing statement then?
Well, I just want to make sure that UC has got what he needs out, because I don't want to leave it like a bad thing. So is there anything else? Did you want to make a closing? Do you want me to go first or second? And we'll just do closings and gone.
Okay, I'll do a closing.
Closing's questions.
No, just a closing. Yeah, go ahead.
I'll just put in my YouTube channel, and that'll be it. I have a YouTube channel, Ultimated Christian. Yep.
Put it in the private chat, man. I'll put it in the public chat.
Okay, I'll just give me a moment.
You and your mobile?
Yeah, I've got.
Very difficult on your mobile. I'll see if I can. Wiped it earlier because I had to change.
I've posted it in the private chat.
Perfect. Thank you very much. For anybody who would like to check out UC, there you are.
That's my closing.
Simos, the floor is yours. And you're muted. Unmuted. You see, you scared him off. Oh, I thought.
Still muted, right?
I thought UC scared you off.
No, not exactly. It was a close, but no cigar. Okay, so yeah, I think. I mean, I've enjoyed the debate. I mean, it's a shame that we can't get anywhere deeper.
Well, I was hoping if both of you had spare time, just to mention, I was thinking possible after party, bringing other people in. If either of you are open to that, we'll discuss it afterwards. Hopefully, you are. But you know, I think maybe Fabio, maybe Marty, should be fun.
Yeah.
No, I don't have. I really don't have time for that, as I do have to attend something. I would if I had the time.
That's a shame, because I know we've been on other channels.
But I can do questions. Sorry, I can do questions.
You spent a lot of time. Okay, well, I'll just get through my outro quickly then. I just want to thank you both very much. I've quite enjoyed it, really. It's given me some food for thought. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to get deeper than just making what I consider to be broad claims. And, you know, maybe I was guilty of that at some points. I don't know. If I was, I apologize. I would just end up by saying calling God a brute fact seems to me somewhat question begging, and therefore I appreciate that you could believe that it is, but you know, that kind of misses the point of a debate, because I'm looking for some kind of justification on why God exists, and I don't think we've been given any reason to believe in this debate anyway that is the case, and therefore on meaningless or abstract versions of God, that gives us a reason to be agnostic, and on meaningful and what I consider to be meaningful definitions of God, I think that gives us reason to believe that it's false, and that's why I hold the position of atheism. So thank you very much, Mathpig, and thank you, Ultimate Christian.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. By my clock, it's 23:08. 23:15, I'm doing a cut-off for questions. So if anyone has any questions, slip them in this last 7 minutes. In that time, we'll go through the first 4 that I have here. And yeah, so 7 minutes, cut-off, questions. First question, Iron Charioteer. Question for UC. If God has great power, does it come with great responsibility? Is God's responsibility for tsunamis? Is God responsible for tsunamis?
Can you repeat that last bit? Tsunamis?
Is God responsible for tsunamis?
Yeah, but there's a reason for all states of affairs.
So the answer would be yes to that question.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Next question, Inquisitor Bacon. Again, question for UC. How can a god with such a huge kill count be loving?
Well, firstly, there's a difference between killing and murder. So because God is eternal, he hasn't murdered anyone, as he can see into the futures of people. So that addresses that question.
Okay. I'm looking forward to this one from Fabio. UC claimed that in order to deny the existence of something, you must presuppose its existence. Does it work for God only or for everything else? And if yes, special pleading. Ciao. I can see no point. But first question, yeah. Claimed that in order to deny the existence of something, you must presuppose its existence. Does that work for God only or for everything else?
It works for everything, as you have to presuppose the fundamental attributes of said proposition. So we presuppose God's absoluteness, eternalness, and so forth. On the contrary, to prove the existence of a finite being, we presuppose said finite being's fundamental attributes, the temporalities of said finite being.
Okay, so if that's the case, then if I could just take a minute on that. If that is the case, then of course, and it's true for everything, then all things that are eternal, like square circles, exist. And I clearly see a contradiction with that. So if you're saying that contradictions can exist, then you're denying the law of identity. And if you deny the law of identity, you're disproving your very own concept of God.
A square circle can exist because God can change the assigned value to it. So anything is possible with God.
Including non-existence by your own definition, then.
No, anything external to God is possible.
Well, that's not what the law of identity means, I'm afraid. But okay.
Okay, next question.
That was my minute. I don't want to go on and on.
Yeah, 2 questions left. Iron Chart here again. Question for UC. How can the average person enter into an intimate relationship with God, and do I need any accessories?
No, you don't need any accessories. You just need to have an open heart and repent before your sinful nature. So you don't need the Bible to be saved. You just love God with all that you have. And God judges you based on the love that you have. So that supersedes the knowledge. God doesn't judge you based on how intelligent you are or your looks and so forth. He judges you based on how much you love him, primarily.
Okay, if I could take a minute on that.
Oh.
Thank you. Good news for all us swingers from the 70s. Thank you, that's it.
That wasn't even a minute, 10 seconds, right? Question for both parties. If the other party brought valid proof that their side was correct, would you concede? Would you?
That's a false hypothetical. It's God has to exist. The opposite isn't possible.
Simos, if I showed you...
Yeah, of course. If somebody came to me with either a conclusive...
God's phone number. I've got God's phone number.
If somebody came to me with a sound deductive argument, then I would think that that's very good evidence for God, and I would probably believe that that being, whatever was substantiated by that deductive argument, existed. Or if somebody brought to me overwhelming empirical evidence, which is what I would most require or most like, then of course I would believe that, again, that particular God existed. So yeah, I'd like to think that I try and keep an open mind on both sides. And as I said, I think my standard of accepting existence is relatively, shall we say, normal compared to most things that I do accept existence of.
Perfect. Inquisitor Bacon, if God can see the future, then he knew I would grow up in a situation that would never leave me apathetic about God's existence. That's more of a statement.
Yeah, I think that's just a claim.
Yeah, he tagged me twice. I told everyone to tag me twice for questions. But anyway, right. My last question, I have saved my own for the very last end. You said that we presuppose God's a fact. God is a fact. We're having this conversation, and we know that we're having this conversation. We have to have this conversation because God exists, because God is a fact. Yes?
Yes.
In paraphrasing, sort of. Yeah. Yeah? So you would say yes to that. If I put forth to you evidence and experimental data and said to you then, at the end of that gravity was a fact, would you agree with me?
Gravity could be a fact, but it's not my position. So anything could be possible outside of God.
Gravity is possible, but you would not consider gravity a fact.
No, I'm saying that God can create gravity now, but my position is that gravity it doesn't comport with the loving nature of God, and I can explain why, but that will go into a different
after party, man. You're welcome to join.
Those go on for a while. Got to go somewhere. So
I appreciate you coming in. I really do appreciate the conversation. You see,
yeah, I've enjoyed it.
I'm hoping to have open panels at least once a week. Usually a Friday or a Saturday night, depending when I can get away with it. But always welcome to come back. I'm sure Simos would always welcome to follow up a conversation. And yeah, as you say, come back on Saturday. We have Skeptic Skeleton coming on Saturday. We've also got a premiere of a discussion I had on his channel a few months ago coming on Thursday. So yeah, come back. We'll have a chat. Maybe if you're free this Saturday, man. I think it's at 11 o'clock UK. So you're more than welcome. I think we have covered everything. Everybody's happy.
Thank
We've
you
all
very
had
much.
good enough. And as the outro plays, I'm going to put the link in the chat. If we can get 2 cool people to come in and join me and Simos, we'll go live. Otherwise, there won't be a stream. But 2 cool people, join the link and jump in. We'll get an after party going. We should have some fun. We'll talk about the debate, see what everybody thought.
Yeah, where's the link?
It's the one I give you.
Right, yeah, no, I've got the link.
You're
Obviously,
you're literally in the hangout.
I can't see it in chat.
No,
That's
you're
what I'm
literally in the hangout. You don't have to go.
saying.
in.
Yeah, but I can't see it in chat for other people. Thank you. I mean, I could post it in chat if you want me to. There you go. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Dave or Amber has already fucking done it because Amber's been hanging around in the back since since the beginning. Well, Amber likes the back door, but we're not even going to talk about that. Anyway, thanks everybody for coming. I really do appreciate it. It's been a good night banter. We've already got one in the background, so we just need one. Well, it's Ginger Nation. We need 2 more cool people. 2 more cool people. But other than that, yes, call back on Thursday for the premiere, and then and then Ginger Nation. I'm only joking. And then next Saturday coming, we will have Skeptic Skeleton here. It'll be 11 UK. We're going to have another open panel, see what the crack is, see who turns up. And yeah, with that, I will run the outro. And thanks to everybody who supports the channel. Thanks to everybody who's a member, Patreon and all that. And working on a new video for all the new members. So, we'll hopefully see you in 10 minutes.